Hi everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So today, I'm trying something different. I felt my August reading wrap up was way too long, and I'm not going to subject you guys to that again. So let's try splitting it up into two parts, I decided. But ironically, this has been one of my worst reading months. I'm feeling a little slumpy, and slumpy for me is I'm still reading, but I'm going at a slower pace than I would prefer to read at, and I'm not getting as many books in. I normally do at least 10 during the month, and right now I'm at 4. Just about to finish my 5th one, and I don't know how many more I'm going to get done by the end of the month. So let's get into what I've been reading this month. The first book that I finished for the month of September was actually a carryover from the month of August, and that is The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Rowley. The Bones of Ruin is a YA historical fantasy set in 1800s London. It follows this tightroper who performs in a circus who has this special ability she keeps hidden. The special ability is that she is unable to die, and for the most part, she's been doing a very good job keeping this secret. And it actually helps that she doesn't know how she got this power or anything really about her past, so she's confused and trying to figure that out. One day she is performing a stunt on the tightrope for a big crowd to get them enticed to come and see the show at the circus. She spots this man who looks very familiar, and it causes her to fall off the tightrope. When she falls, she cracks her neck, and everybody watches her die. But the thing is, she ends up coming back to life right away. Well, not right away, it takes a few minutes, but she comes back too. And they're like, can't believe it, because she should have been dead. So her boss, having figured this out, is ready to exploit her. So he pulls this big stunt to set her up to expose herself at the circus. And after that, she realizes she has to run away. She runs and meets the same man who made her expose herself by falling off the tightrope in the first place. And he reveals that he knows who she is and the origin of her powers, but he's not going to tell her who she is. She's going to have to figure that out slowly, because too much it would overwhelm her for him to give her all that information at once. So this was a very slow burn fantasy. There was a lot of um, information. A lot of things happened. She got kidnapped 7 times. Um, I enjoyed it. I wanted a little bit more action and just to pump it up, because like I said, it is very slow at some points, and then somebody would kidnap her or hurt her, and then it would you'd be right back into the story interested again. So I just needed a little bit of a difference in tone. This would probably be one best listened read as an audiobook. I feel like you could listen slowly and enjoy it while also doing your chores and stuff. So I definitely want to do a reread, but I probably will reread on the audiobook. And I am hopeful about book 2. There were some interesting seeds planted in the story that I would love to follow along. I liked the conversations that it had about black bodies, and I liked the secrets that she ended up discovering. What I didn't like was the harem she had going on. I felt like those guys just liked her because they had to like her. I didn't really see a rhyme or reason as to why they were so in love with her. Well, the one ended up being revealed, and I'm like, oh, okay. But the other one and another one just seemed to like the idea of her, and then her partner just seemed to be in love with her, but I'm not sure really why he was so in love with her. And I don't think she had chemistry with all the guys for them all to be all over her. But overall, I gave The Bones of Ruin a 3.25, and I said I will definitely check out the sequel. I believe it is part of a trilogy. And then the next book that I read during the month was The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I'm not really going to get into what that book is about because I feel like everybody on BookTube has read it already, and I read it last year as an ARC before it got really hyped, and I really enjoyed that one. That was a 5-star read. I will link my review below. I also got to do a blog interview with the author, so I'll link that as well. And yeah, that was overall a good read. This was a reread. I reread it via the audiobook, so it was great to listen and get myself like refreshed with the story. I don't know when the sequel is coming out, but I'm very excited about that one. And this was one of my more enjoyable reads. I just needed something familiar after a lot of heavier reads I was reading lately. The next book that I read was Partly Cloudy, and that is by Tanita Davis, and that is a middle grade contemporary story. And I'm not really sure how I fully feel about this book. This was one I definitely decided to get the ARC of because of the comps and because of the cover. And it follows a little girl named Madeline. She's about 12, 13, and she had a rough year at school last year. Her dad had lost his job and they had to move to this new neighborhood, and this new neighborhood was way worse than her old neighborhood, and she kind of had a lot of issues there. So this year, to give her a fresh start, her mom's like, well, while we don't have enough money to move yet because your dad is just now getting this new job, we can move you to this new school. You can stay with your uncle because he lives in a good school district, and then we'll just see you on the weekends. So she's getting adjusted to this new school, and she's living with her uncle. It's just her uncle living in this big, nice, this nice house, and he has his neighbor who is around her age stop by and visit him all the time and help him out. And I really liked her uncle. He is Creole, and he had all these great little sayings, and like he's very old school, so I liked his mannerism, and I really enjoyed like the aspects of the story that were her getting to know him and like being in this new environment. What this story also had was part when she's in her new school, there is one girl she makes friends with who seems nice at first, but then this friend sees her out with her neighbor Jean and acts kind of hesitant. And Madeline finds out that this friend is against black boys, and she has a thing against black boys because she was at a previous school where she got bullied by one, and now she just decided all black men are the problem. So Madeline is spending most of the book like beyond her everyday life, where we're watching her go to school and come home and deal with like that. We are watching her deal with having what she's going to do about this friend, because she doesn't know, do I still want to be friends with this girl? I'm not sure how to confront her about this. And that conversation, I'm not sure what the best approach is here in this type of situation. But one, I didn't like how we didn't actually say the word racist in the story till about 70%, and we found out this girl had like these racist tendencies pretty early on. And I also don't like how when it was finally addressed, it felt like Madeline and her uncle had to kind of save the white people during a time of crisis, even though it's not their, like the text clearly explained, it's not their job to teach these people and about racism, and they shouldn't have to do that work. I felt like they kind of ended up having to do that work by being the bigger, kinder people. And so yeah, I'm not sure what the best approach is here, because I understand the listening and learning aspect that they also wanted to emphasize. And I'm really not sure what I would tell a child in this situation. I feel like reading this book would at least give the opportunity to have a good discussion about that. Then the next book that I read for the month was White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. And we all know Tiffany D. Jackson, very, very lauded writer. This is her first attempt at horror, and this was an okay book. I actually ended up giving it 3 stars. It was very much right down the middle for me. There were parts of it that worked and parts of it that didn't work. And part of what didn't work for me was the social justice aspects. I feel like sometimes with Black YA, they try to do too much social justice, and not all of it is like well researched or given enough space on page to fully be explored. And for me, that was the situation here. Like, it tried to touch on incarceration of black men because of possession of weed, and then weed usage, as well as like legalization, and it tried to touch it from all angles, and I don't think it did a good job. Like at first, I'm like hearing about this character whose name I forget, fiending for weed because she has anxiety, um, and PSCD, over a previous situation, and she has a little bit of OCD too. I can't remember what her name is, but she had overdosed last year. And so this is like her family's new start. Like they keep emphasizing change is important because they've moved to this new town. Her mother works as an author, and as a part of an artist residency, she this foundation gave her the opportunity to move into this house. Their only condition is that she cannot go into the basement. And I'm like, moving into no place where I can't go into the basement. I don't understand that. Like that should have been their first red flag. Then like things are starting to be heard around the house, like weird noises and seeing people. But our main character is just kind of brushing it off because she's high, and if she tells somebody, then they're gonna know she's smoking. And like I said, she had that overdose previously, although she had an overdose on fentanyl laced marijuana. I've never heard of anybody having an overdose on fentanyl laced marijuana, fentanyl laced cocaine, or even like if they mixed like the Percocets with fentanyl, maybe that would have been more believable. In fact, she was abusing Percocets, so I'm like, why didn't she overdose on that versus marijuana? That part was weird because it felt like we're trying to have this talk about like how the lack of legalization is hurting black men, and black people are getting incarcerated for possessing these small amounts. But then we're also kind of doing the fear mongering, anti-weed thing, and I'm not even for or against, and I'm just like, I don't think this was the space to fully get into that topic if we're not going to go all the way in and have a full discussion. So that I could have done without. I did like the aspects of gentrification, in relation to the house that they're living in. There was a lot of bed bug talk because the character has a phobia of bed bugs. I've dealt with bed bugs. I don't ever want to deal with them again. Reading this just brought back the images of that, which was gross, and like that doesn't so much as scare me as it just made my skin crawl. More when I'm reading a horror, I like that heart racing, like can't wait to turn the page and see what happens. And that wasn't really, this book wasn't giving me that much. Like I was interested in the house, but because of all the other stuff going on, like in the middle specifically, I kind of forgot about the house for a little bit. So I don't feel like it did a good job completely setting up the atmosphere or keeping the momentum going. I like a little bit more vivid imagery too, and that was kind of lacking here. Everything was pretty straightforward. Plus, I also listened to the audiobook. I mean, I had the art with the words too. I had to go back and reread some sections, but the audiobook was a very flat narration that really didn't add anything to me either. It was read pretty much straightforward during all the scenes. So in the end, I gave that one a 3. I liked what it did in some aspects, but in other aspects, it was no dice. Right now, I am still currently reading, and I want to make sure I get this title right, so I'm just going to check and make sure I have it. It is Redeemed by His New York Cinderella, and that is by Jadis Oleg James. And I'm actually really enjoying this one. It's a romance. So that is my current read, which you'll be seeing my next wrap up. I'm almost finished with that one. I should be done tonight. And then the other book that I'm reading is No Gods, No Monsters. That is by Cadwell Turnbull. And I'm enjoying No Gods, No Monsters. The thing is, it's one of those books where you have to read it carefully and slowly. And I have the audiobook and the physical book, so I'm trying to listen and read along. So I can, because I was just listening to the audiobook and then I ended up completely missing anything because it moved so fast that I had to go back and do some rereading. So it's a good book so far. I just have to pay close attention to it. And I'm hoping to finish that one by the end of the week too. So that's all for the first part of my September wrap up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!